Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and I have to be awake in 8 hours for Jiu-Jitsu class, but I thought before I do that, before I head to bed, let me make you guys a mid-tier list, get this out, and get the people the knowledge they need to know about the mid lane role. So without further ado, 7.35D mid-tier list, and let's get into it. Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the GameLeap website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken, click the link down below and sign up. Starting off with the E tier, I have two of my least favorite mid heroes. Very uncommon to see the mid tusk, but I've had some mid tusks here and there, and every single time they end up having phase boots, Falcon Blade, and then they can't do anything. They feed, and then they buy a Midas, and then they feed even more. And then from there we have Monkey King, which is honestly kind of a similar story. Like, this hero has some use cases. For instance, it's an interesting response pick to like Kunkka and Ember, but Ember's not that popular, and I don't know, a lot of the time you don't get to last pick mid. So when I have a Monkey King mid on my team, it's this random second phase Monkey King that's against a Leshrac, and then he goes even or loses the lane, and this hero, even or losing, is just not useful. Like, it dies extremely easily. I feel like it doesn't do that much damage. It scales in a very awkward way because it doesn't farm particularly fast. It doesn't shove waves reliably unless you want to use a 23-second cooldown stun, which is a bit clunky because you kind of need that to kill people. I don't know, I'm not a fan of Monkey King. I don't think the hero is very good, and so let's move on to the D tier. In the D tier, we have one of the worst melee heroes in the game right now in Void Spirit. I think this hero is just, out of all the melee mids, is just not good. His numbers are lacking, to say the least. I think the Ags build is like interesting in some matchups like Puck, but for the most part, trash. Then we have TA, who mechanically is very difficult. You might see some pro teams counterpicking, some teams like it into Pango, some teams like it into Puck. And I think for very specific matchups, every Dota hero, can be good. That's the beauty of Dota. But on average, TA is a very D tier hero. If you don't have your correct matchups, it struggles to scale, it's mechanically very difficult, it requires very specific farming patterns, and I think for the laning stage, you truly have to know your matchups, otherwise you're just not going to get enough value, and you're probably going to feed in the mid game. Then we have Batrider, who is still a specialty hero for some players, but I think the scaling is way too difficult, and after the nerf to the W, the hero is just not there. Getting to the C tier, we have Pugna. You guys might have seen the Phylactery Topson build. It's cool, it's cute, but he's not spamming it for a reason. It's good in some games. Once again, matchups are key, but at the end of the day, it's a very hard hero to play that lacks a bit of wave shove, right? You have to cast Q twice, so it dies very easily. In terms of the scaling, he buys like Wishblade Pike. I just don't think it's there, and I would not recommend it. Then we have Tinker, who receives some buffs as a support, and it's a cute hero. I think for the spammers, maybe this is like a B or a low A tier hero, but you gotta be a giga spammer. A giga spammer. Otherwise, it's slow paced, takes up space. That's the problem. It's slow and it takes up space. Like, literally, it is a giga hard carry. This isn't even a hard carry. Like, it's a giga hard carry. Pretty sure this hero is more of a hard carry than a mid in a lot of ways. Like, I actually think maybe Tinker's win rate would be better if he was played as a hard carry, so people didn't expect him to make plays when he just can't. Then we have Quap, who fell off after the Mage Slayer nerfs. I think the build on her is just a bit clunky, which is weird because Kaya-Sanj is good, but I just haven't seen Quap have a lot of success. And I think compared to a lot of the other magic damage dealers, it's just difficult, hard to farm. You have to spam clarities, it just hurts the mana pool. You gotta hit timings. This hero typically has like it's kind of explosive in the early levels, like when it hits an early 6, but then falls off, and you gotta know that. And I think most people don't, so its win rate's terrible. Then we have Windranger, a hero that I personally like playing, but in terms of mid lane prowess, I don't think is very good. The reason why, I think nowadays, with how water runes work, it's just too easy to regen through the harass of something like a Windranger, right? In a patch where there's limited regen, Windranger will win a lot of matchups just by clicking the opponent over and over and over again. But nowadays, her right clicks just aren't hard enough. There are some heroes that actually do have the harass potential nowadays, and they're much higher up on the list, but Windranger just doesn't. It's just not enough. Even with Power Shot being one of the highest damage nukes in the game in the early levels, she just doesn't have it. And it's kind of like a TA where if you make a couple of mistakes, your game just gets thrown off and then you can't fight. Like, this hero kind of needs Maelstrom and then BKB, but it's not necessarily that easy to hit these timings. And if you don't hit BKB, you just kind of feed if you're not careful. And I think most people just can't make it work. Then we have Invoker. I actually really like Exort Invoker in the right team comp. Sunstrike being 200 pure damage at level 1, in my opinion, is very underrated and more people should look at it. But until then, I'm going to keep him in the C tier because people just don't do that, they don't abuse it, and I think in pubs, if you're not synergizing with the Sunstrike, it's just not a great hero and is outmatched by other tempos. Then we have Earthshaker, who I just don't really like as mid. I think pre-blink, it's very bad. This hero compared to Pango or Earth Spirit, it scales only as well as they do. And its laning stage is very matchup specific. I had one playing with Leshrac in my pub today, just had a terrible game as a result. And it's just like, God, if he was just playing Pango or Earth Spirit, at least he could make some plays, you know? But mid Earthshaker is just, you really gotta be in the right matchup. Then we have Storm. Some people think Storm's a better hero. I personally just don't think it is. Whenever I see Storm, I don't know. Oricon's also a popular item right now. I just don't like Storm. I feel like it's just, once again, worse than Pango or Tiny or something, right? Or Kunkka or DK. Just, I wouldn't pick Storm if you want an initiator. Then we have Spirit Breaker, who I think is just a space hog, space cow. It just hogs too much space and doesn't have impact with the space. It also has some very bad losing matchups that are in the meta. Then we have Lina, who, after a lot of number nerfs, isn't there. I think the Ags build is cute against like Terrorblade and some other low HP heroes, but for the most part, takes up too much space. It's kind of like a Tinker where it just isn't going to have impact early on. And then I think the payoff isn't generally there. There are better range heroes in the current meta, so I would definitely keep her low C tier. Then we have Pudge. Okay, I mean, sure, it's Pudge. If the enemy team literally has all damage over time spells, great. You should pick mid Pudge. Otherwise, don't pick mid Pudge. Then we have Ember. The fall off of Mage Slayer kind of hurt this hero. After the Mage Slayer and the Shivas, the two items this hero bought, fell off, the hero also fell off. And it got nerfed a billion times. It only was in the meta because of items. Then we have Viper, who I think isn't too good right now. It's a Mage Slayer hero, but if you don't get off to the good start, which once again, for mid, is pretty hard. Like, it's very hard to dominate a lot of mid heroes. And there are mid heroes in the meta right now that are very good against Viper. I'm not going to mention them because they might be the S tier heroes, but I would not pick Viper mid in the current meta with how many options there are to do well against it mid, survive it mid, and with the bottle setup, it's just inconsistent. Then we have Shadow Fiend, who received the buff to his mana cost on his Qs, but it just doesn't matter. This hero is like worse Lina. Don't pick this hero. There are way better heroes than SF. It can dominate if you're really good at SF. The lane. That is the exception. That is what makes SF viable. You can dominate the lane. Fine. Go dominate the lane. If you're not dominating the lane, do not pick this hero. It is not worth it. It's way too slow and gets ganked way too easily. Then we have Necro, which tends to be a pub star. I don't think the hero is special right now, but it's just a good pub hero because it stays alive, gets in the way, and Scythe is very good at punishing overextensions. So Necro's in the meta. On top of that, I will say it, I think it has some pretty good items in the meta right now, like Kai'San, Shroud, even Radiance is in a great place. So in terms of items, Necro has good items going for it. So maybe it is more of like a high B tier hero, but definitely a B tier hero. Then we have Primal Beast, just solid all around. Nothing special, kind of hard to play. It's a B tier hero. Then we have Pango, who I think in the pro scene is A or even potentially S tier, but I think for pubs, it's B tier due to the mechanical difficulty, the weak laning stage, and all the niche knowledge you need to make this hero work. However, the Ags build with a 15 talent, the Rolling Thunder duration, ever since they made it where Shield Crash cooldown in roll is based on your ulti level, I'm pretty sure this hero has got him just better because you can take the 15 talent now that's Rolling Thunder duration. So you have 13 seconds of just spamming roll and your Ags jump. It's just insane. Then we have Slaughter. I actually think this hero is a pretty good mid. It plays very, very fast. It's a good hero in the meta. And I think a lot of people should play in mid. I don't know why it's like not that popular. I mean, the wave shove is fine, right? You can jungle if the game is hard. Like, it has a lot of options for mid. It takes ancients if you don't want to roam, you know, and it really is decent. So keep it in mind. It's a good roaming hero. It's like a Primal Beast. I put them in a very similar category. Then we have Arc Warden, who fell off very, very hard after nerf and nerf and nerf and nerf, but still scales well. I think the Vessel in a Midas and a Gleipnir build provides a lot of utility and is good fighting in the early game. Then we have Puck, who I think is in the pro scene is more of an A or an S tier hero. For average pubs, it's a little fragile, right? The laning siege is not very great. The early fighting is not great. And so what a lot of people will do is they get roped in these early fights, which Puck just isn't necessarily great at, right? Doesn't excel at, and then they fall behind. If you learn to just scale, hit timings, right? Hit the Witchblade, fight on the Witchblade. Hit the Blink, fight on the Blink. Like, just really understand the power of timings on this hero and the power of scaling, the power of split pushing. Then the hero is A tier or S tier, especially if the matchups are right. Then we have Coddle. I really like this hero because I think Vessel is a good item, and I think there's plenty of greedy side laners, and having a Coddle just running around, dominating side lanes with Boots of Travel and Vessel, and really controlling the early to mid game enables, you know, side lane heroes like Doom, and your carry Naga, your carry Terrorblade, your offlane Centaur who needs space, you know, with so many space hogs in the offlane, like Brewmaster, and in the safe lane, you know, it's just nice to have a mid like Coddle that opens up the map. Then we have Tiny. I think the Conda build has really revived this hero to some extent. Just the ability to one-shot people with Conda is super, super nice. Then we have Earth Spirit, who has also risen in popularity. We've seen some pros picking it up, and I do believe this hero is actually quite a good mid. Reason being, compared to something like Ember Spirit, I think the tempo is just way better. You can play way faster, and you have great items. I think Blade Mail is an incredible item. I think Vessel is an incredible item right now. Blade Mail I think is stupid underrated in Dota, just in general. I think Vessel's fantastic, and this hero can just buy both back to back and create absolute chaos as a result. I think Vessel Blade Mail is one of the strongest Dota 2 item combos in the game, because one provides like health and sustain, and the other just provides absolute chaos creation in Blade Mail, right? And you combine the Vessel active with Blade Mail, it's like you can just kill anyone. So I really like Earth Spear for that reason, because he's a great buyer of this item combo. And I think the hero's Wave Shove is good. It doesn't lose a lot of lanes, besides like, I guess, Sniper. Then we have Outworld Devourer, which personally, I'm not gonna lie, this is my least favorite hero in Dota to play against. I just hate it. And that stands true. It has some good meta matchups like Kunkka and Dragonite, even Earth Spirit, as we were just talking about. It can dominate certain lanes. And then, yeah, if the enemy team is picking like a bunch of tank heroes, you see a Centaur and a Timber, it's great to pick up an OD. He's going to give you the damage you need. Then we have Ricky Mid, who I think specifically is only good in pubs, but I do actually want to keep him in the B tier here, just because I think Diffusal Ricky picking off noobs who don't buy the right items is powerful and a great strategy for pub. I've seen this hero dominate 3K pubs over and over and over again in any role, and I think mid is no exception. In fact, I think this hero is best as a mid because it doesn't farm, right? Like, people pick this safe lane. I personally don't fully get it because you can't really farm. You're basically picking a second mid, which is okay, but then sometimes no one's taking any of the open space on the map, and it just feels so clunky, and your team will have no wave shove. So I really believe this hero is better as mid, or maybe even an offlaner. Just, I don't like it safe lane personally. Like, conceptually, I think you can play it in any role, but conceptually. Then we have Razor, who I think has some good meta matchups. For instance, the Kunkka, it's pretty good against Leshrac. It's not good against some of the S tier heroes, which is why I think it's more of a B tier hero. Also, some people struggle playing with Razor because, similar to Puck, if you don't understand this hero's timings, you'll just kind of go in and fight before you hit major timings, and you're like, wow, Razor sucks. When in reality, you just needed to farm your BKB, or your Sanjin Yasha, or your Blade Mail. Then we have Death Prophet, just a very all-reliable hero. Doesn't lose any lanes, basically. Has practically zero losing matchups. Gonna take your towers, gonna be able to fight early, gonna be able to create space. Has good items right now. The Kai Sanj, right? The Eternal Shroud. Just strong. Blade Mail. Then we have Lone Druid, who you might be shocked to see me put him in B tier, but I really do want to stress that I think Lone Druid in the side lanes is not good. Reason being, they nerfed the bear early levels too hard if it can die. Mid, it's very hard to kill the bear when you're low. Like, what mid is really going to solo kill a bear? It can happen. Very uncommon. Very, very uncommon. And so, yeah, I think this hero is a mid. I've played against it multiple times lately, and I'm like, wow, this looks like a good mid hero because it still dominates a lot of mid matchups, just due to the fact that you have like 90 damage at level 1 technically. You get your levels very fast, and then the bear, how it works now is the respawn timer at level 1 is 155 seconds. But once you get it maxed out, then it drops down to 125. And so it becomes like, oh, I'm not completely screwed if my bear dies. But in the side lanes, you're not getting your levels as fast, right? And as a result, you can get put in a really bad spot, like basically an unplayable spot if your bear dies. And they nerfed the bear movement speed, which hurts in the side lane a lot because you need to kite it in and out. You need to close the gap to kill the support. Mid, you just see us and deny. Like, you literally, it basically doesn't matter. And then the movement speed goes back to what it was before if you max out the bear. So just max the bear, and then you're fine, which you can do mid. So big fan of mid Lone Druid. Then we have Timbersaw of the end of the B tier. Just think this hero can create a lot of chaos. It can play really fast, great items, Kai'San's Eternal Shroud, Blade Mail. And so, yeah, I think the power and the pace of Timbersaw as a mid hero is very good. It has very few losing matchups. Even after all of the nerfs, it's still a very good mid hero in my opinion. Now we're gonna get into the A tier, and there might be a few heroes that surprise you, but I really want to stand by them. First off, we have Dazzle, who I've seen a real rise in popularity, like super big rise in popularity. A lot of people trying it out. Here's why. Well, first things first, a lot of people don't know this. Even my friend, who's a big Dazzle player, didn't know this. Boots of Travel still get affected by Bad Juju, your ultimate, which reduces the cooldown of your abilities. What they did was they made a patch where all items except Boots of Travel are no longer affected by the cooldown reduction of Dazzle's ulti, right? When he presses it, it lowers the cooldown of spells, only bots. But that includes bots. And so you can basically still go bots ags, push in waves, farm like a madman, and then just be useful with no real items besides ags and bots. Then from there, you buy 4 staff and a blink daggers just so you're mobile and you can't die. Some people even go Aether Lens, which I actually really like. And you just help your team. And in pubs, it's great because people clump up. And how Dazzle Ags works is it heals a butt ton if the enemy team is on top of your heroes. And so Dazzle it's a very reliable lane, loses very few matchups. It can farm Ancients, which is actually its main way of snowballing, which is good for mid because you get a lot of levels early, so you can farm the Ancients. In terms of ganking, you're a little bit weak. That is the weakness of this hero, but I think its timing is so strong where it actually does pay off. Then we have Kunkka. Ags build is just good. It's great for pubs. Team fighting, good laning stage, can play tempo, blade mail. It's just a good hero. Like, the Ags build is just so good for pubs. I love playing Kunkka. I play offlane, but if I have to play mid, I love picking Kunkka. I just, build my blade mail, fight early, die a bunch, whatever, create a bunch of space, buy my Ags, and then we're chilling. Then we have Huskar. Yeah, so a lot of people might be surprised if Huskar is so high, but I think Huskar is kind of a broken hero if you know what you're doing. The reason why is some matchups are just completely broken. And then other matchups, you might be like, oh, but against range heroes, he feeds. Like, no, Huskar, I've literally seen Huskars dominate Leshraks and dominate Wind Rangers because you can just hit the creep twice. If you're semi-low HP, you can hit the creep twice before they can hit it once. So you can just get denies and CS like that. It's pretty insane. The Q is a great creep security tool. And then from there, if you can't put pressure, like let's say you're not against Ember Spirit, right? You can just farm Ancients and hit level 11 at like mid at 11. And then you buy Halberd, which is a broken item. And you buy Armlet, which is a broken item. And your Ags and level 20 talent is like some insane timing. This hero just scales. It's just like a good Dota hero. So I think people see Huskar as this Giga Cheese. I think it's just a good hero. Like, honestly, I really believe more respect needs to put on this guy's name. I think people just need to understand how much XP Ancients actually give and why you should just basically abuse them and let your supports take the mid wave while you just hit insane timings. And then hit your broken item timings. Armlet, ever since it was given Slayer Assistance, is way better. And Halberd, Sange buffs, Talisman of Evasion buff, like, it just makes sense. Then we have Leshrac. Bloodstone is a great item right now. Hero has great talents, very good lanes. They buff the W very, very hard. I'm sure a lot of you guys know these things, but yeah, the win rate on this hero is fantastic in pubs, and it definitely deserves it. Great items, Kaya Sange, Bloodstone, Blade Mail. I guess Blade Mail on Lesh is probably okay because the hero actually does have severe armor issues. Usually you solve that with Shivas, right? But no, it's probably... Alright, I'll stop memeing, even though I actually do think it's like a very viable item on these heroes. The Bloodstone, Kaya Sange, great build, great avenues to go, and the talents are just insane. Then we have Meepo, who I think deserves to just still be an A-tier hero. It's a great pub hero, guys. The reality is if you know how to farm on Meepo, you're going to have success and good win rate. It's definitely a hero worth picking up if you like kind of like cheesy farming mids. It's just one of the best scaling mids if you want to AFK hit creeps, because it hits creeps faster than almost any hero, if any hero. Maybe like not Alk or something like that, but it farms obscenely fast. And it hits a timing that's it's just nasty. Just absolutely nasty. Great as a mid. Very hard to lose lane too, due to its base stats. Then we have Dragonite, who I really believe is just still a very solid A-tier hero. The Manta style or Mage Slayer, like Blink, Mage Slayer, Manta style Ags build is still incredible. Or you can just go Blink, Manta into Ags, and you just get in the way. It has very few losing matchups, and therefore he is an A-tier hero. Alright, finally we get into the S-tier heroes. And the first one is Sniper. Sniper right now has shown a massive rise in popularity throughout the recent tournament. Quinn's picking it, Thompson's picking it. People are picking it safe lane. Yeah, like everyone's picking it now that I'm thinking about it. So why is Sniper so popular? Well, first things first, very easy to win the lane. Headshot take aim, like clicking take aim is just insane. It makes your attack range bonkers. If you don't know how it works, right? When you click take aim, you get an additional 200 attack range. I mean, that's just insane because it's flat. So at level 1 for 50 mana, you get 3 seconds of 200 attack range. So you just get free autos. Boom, just free harass. Right? Easy. You know what I mean? It's just easy. Then what people are doing is they take the 2 points in headshot because you want that with the take aim. So you beat people up and you can take shrapnel. So usually it's the build is headshot, shrapnel, headshot, take aim, or sometimes if the lane is really easy, you'll see headshot, take aim, headshot, shrapnel. And then you use the level 1 shrapnel to stack and you stack camps with the shrapnel. And it's easy because there's always a camp nearby that sniper can stack. And then you max shrapnel, so you go 4-2-1, you stack the large camp, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're level 10 in minute 10, or like minute 12, something like that, right? And so you hit this really nasty timing where you have 4 points shrapnel, 4 points headshot, or like 4-3-2, 4-2-2, something like that. And then you do obscene damage. And on top of that, you're tanky, like over and over and over and over and over again. I see Sniper get gone on. Oh, the guy has raindrops 1 at 1500 health because he has Dragonlance and a ton of stats. And maybe he's going the Axe build, so he has an older Axe. He lives. You're sitting in a shrapnel. You know, this hero has wave shove from 1 billion miles away, right? Shrapnel is just incredible wave shove. It's a good laner. It can scale, and it fights early. As long as you buy stats, the active of Take Aim and Shrapnel are insanely good fighting spells. And of course, Assassinate is no joke either. If you get a kill, Oh, by the way, it deals your attack damage with the bonus damage. So it's like a 400 damage nuke. Global range, essentially. Not really, but you know what I mean. It's like an insane range. And then if you get a kill, it gets refreshed. So you can just pee people down. Like, absolutely nuts. And then finally, the last mid we have here on the list is Zeus. I'm a huge fan of Zeus as well for pubs because you're not going to have a bad lane. This hero, obscenely stable, right? You just buy bottle mana boots. Lane is hard. Q, 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 Q. Lane is easy. Hold back. Maybe keep the lane back. Oh, they're trying to deny the range. Q. Like, you're never going to get denied. Never get the range denied. Your hero's base stats are insane. Like, this hero's damage is really, really good. And then the build is just easy nowadays, right? You go phylactery because this item early game is insane. It just helps you stay on top of people and add some bonus damage. Then, if you want to go magic, fine. Buy a Kaya, buy Aether Lens, go Q people. Go click your Q. If you want to scale like a madman, it's a game for that, right? You feel like there's going to be a lot of space for some reason. Maybe your offlane is an active hero. You can go still phylactery. In a Kaya Yasha, you buy your shard as soon as you can, so even before the Yasha. And now you have lightning hands. Every time you auto attack, you get an arc lightning shot out of the auto attack that does 50% damage. And you might be like, oh, that's not that good. It's 50% damage. It's 50% damage on a 0-second cooldown. And for no mana cost. So you can farm by just clicking creeps. So you farm insanely fast with a reliable laning stage. And you scale insanely well because you buy Kaya Saj, and then you disassemble that into a Manta. The Manta gets the Zappy Hands. Those Zappy Hands farm like crazy. They also do a ton of damage. Then you buy a Kaya Sanj and you buy a Hurricane Pike. You hit level 20, which gives you one of the most broken talents in the game at 6% added bonus current health on Arc Lightning. It is one of the most broken talents in the game. Zeus is level 20. And then all of a sudden, people just insta-die to your Manta. You shove out waves like crazy. You do a ton of damage inherently just by existing. Zeus really does it all. I really believe like Zeus and Sniper are two of the most reliable heroes in all of Dota right now. I think for mid players, if you don't know what to pick, picking Zeus and picking Sniper, you're always going to give your team follow-up damage. You're going to give your team a reliable lane. You're not going to get stomped mid. And if you do, okay, you know, it happens. Someone's going to outplay you. Very few bad matchups, if any. You can play almost anything due to these heroes. Natural, either range, harass, or just ability to secure creeps. And then the farming is just easy. Like, both of these heroes farm like crazy. So, yeah, that's going to be all for today's mid-tier list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you disagree with anything, of course, leave your comments down below telling me about how I make this list strictly based on win rates, not ever based on my own experience. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!